it belongs in a museum. And I would tend to agree that I would like to see significant historical artifacts at least being exposed to the public. With that said, I'm not against auction houses selling these items. I'm not against private owners owning them. I would prefer if the private owners own them to actually display them. In some cases, the private ownership can do a lot better than a museum can. Look at Forgotten Weapons or In Range and all the work that these channels do in showing these rare artifacts and actually, you know, displaying them. Even if they're in their personal collection, they do a good job of showing them and people getting experience with them. Museums very much can have the opposite effect, where they are put into a bottom basement and archived and nobody ever sees them in the light of day. I have a friend who is an old co-worker whose aunt actually worked at the, you know, International Military Museum in Indianapolis, you know, the big World War museum. And there's so much stuff that's in storage that you don't get to see, that's cool things, but it's all tucked away, and that's unfortunate. Museums also have a habit of, you know, changing what their viewpoint and focal points are, and then selling those items off. Look at the Fraser Museum in Louisville. It used to be an arms museum, and now it's anything but that. And those guns vanished off to the ether, or at least they went back to London. The ones that didn't vanished off into the ether. And then you also have, you know, corruption that can exist inside the private community with museums, and then get those museum collections out into the private. And that was a whole cult collection scandal thing that happened there as well. There's no good answer. I would personally like to see historical artifacts displayed, but unfortunately, even if that goes to a museum, there's no guarantee of that. So we are always going to have rich capitalist investors. I mean, shit, the machine guns, most of those machine guns that people actually own are in investors' hands, or at least a significant portion of them are investors' hands, where they just sit in a room as like a stock option as opposed to actually being out there on display and used. Yeah, there's no good option, guys. But it belongs on display for public enjoyment.